enabling international e-commerce, no matter what the product, through technology. Here to talk about that today is Ahmed Naiem, Chief Commercial Officer at ESW. Hi, Ahmed. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Ahmed, how are you seeing international e-commerce trends developing at the moment?
We are seeing a slowdown in domestic commerce, e-commerce for brands. And the brands that have been ready and able to service their international consumer with a premium experience have been able to offset some of their shortfalls in direct-to-consumer domestically with international traffic.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that I have a particular favorite brand of slippers that come from China, and the first time I bought them, it took, I think, 3 weeks for them to come, and there was no tracking, and there was no way of telling if they were ever going to turn up. And then the last time I bought them, they came fairly quickly, and there was tracking. So is that the sort of thing we're talking about?
Absolutely. That's the kind of experience you want to give your consumer, to delight them, to make it simple and easy to buy from you, to make it transparent, and to give them access to your product wherever they are across multiple channels.
So Ahmed, how are you seeing international e-commerce trends developing at the moment?
What we've seen with a lot of our brands is a slowdown in the domestic market, and historically Canada, UK, and Australia would be their largest markets. And although those
American e-commerce
companies, and although those are still growing at a low double-digit rate, where there has been significant growth, in many cases triple-digit growth, is in the emerging markets, particularly where there's a much younger demographic.
Yes.
So when we take a look at Mexico and Latin America, Southeast Asia, the Middle East, particularly UAE and Saudi, and emerging markets like India, just phenomenal growth year over year for brands, and that has really helped offset some of the slowdown in other traditionally large markets.
Right. So, but for example, China, a lot of, I know in my own case, my favorite brand of slippers comes all the way from China. That is serving a lot of developed markets in e-commerce terms, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going the other way, as it were.
Absolutely, and both the export and the import from China is continuing to grow with the advent of social media and the penetration that a lot of brands now have on social media. They're able to access to and from China like never before.
Yes.
And that is one of the top growth markets as well.
So Ahmed, what's the direct-to-consumer market opportunity for these industries?
We work with brands across numerous industries when we're looking at the fashion and apparel, through health and beauty, through consumer electronics and digital, and even gaming industry. We kind of touch on all. And what we're seeing across the board, the brands that are dipping their toe in it are getting between 10 to 15% of their overall direct-to-consumer traffic and volume from international. But as they mature through that life cycle, as they start to really optimize the experience for the consumer around the world, they're going as high as 50%. It's becoming to exceed the majority. Yeah.
Wow.
And the more the successful the brand, the higher diversification outside of their domestic market.
That makes sense.
We usually will see brands in that phase 2, phase 3 get above 30% of total direct-to-consumer revenue coming from outside their home market.
How interesting. So what are some of the challenges associated with this huge growth, especially in the direct-to-consumer international e-commerce market?
Well, as you look at servicing other markets, there's going to be complexities that arise, and then it gets multiplied from market to market because there's variances and nuances in each market. Just examples, how do I drive demand? How do I market to the customer in all of these different geographies with different languages, different payment needs, different delivery
different
expectations,
currencies, right? Yeah.
different currencies, different customs regulations. So I think when you take a look at the shopper experience, shoppers are not forgiving anymore. They're they have a voice.
Well, they're empowered,
They're
right?
empowered. They have a voice. They're mature. There's competition. So for a brand to do it right, they have to really look at, how do I get the right technology? How do I get the right payment offering? How do I get the right logistics and the returns model?
Right.
How do I continue to engage with them in different social channels and all of that? And I think that gets quite complex. And this is where looking at the right strategic partnerships can really help brands bridge that
Right.
and accelerate speed to market without sacrificing the customer experience.
Sure, because you don't wake up one morning and suddenly get good at this, right?
No, and you certainly don't want to go and try to conquer each region on its own and do it in an unprofitable way. So it's about
Sure.
balancing the customer experience with the right profitable way to do business in a market, and that's where brands that have looked at strategic partnerships have been able to address some of those challenges.
Right. Well, tell me a little bit about ESW. How do they help people get
So-
across borders with e-commerce?
We are essentially that trading partner for a lot
Right.
of merchants to help them drive their direct consumer channel outside of their home market. We have built a technology infrastructure, a global logistics infrastructure, a payments infrastructure, and complementary services to help them trade and demand and manage demand in those markets. And we focus in on the international so that they could focus in
Right.
on their brand and focus in on their home market and do what they do best. But we've replicated that for them so that they could access these markets fast, so they get speed to market with a low capex model. They don't have to invest and replicate it. And that's really driven value for brands that are ultimately hyper focused on customer experience and growth.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you
today.
very much.
I've been with Ahmed Naiem from ESW. Thank you for watching.